The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the podcast belong solely to the hosts and not the host's past, present, or future employers. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Bryan, Mr. Boettcher, and Miss Berlin for Breaking Down Scary.
Hey.
All right. Miss Berlin, so for those of you who have been listening to the show, we just had our first part of our interview with Alyssa Miller and April Wright. And we realized it was going to be like a three-parter because it was like an hour and 45 minutes long or something. And I was like, yeah, we may want to break that up a little bit. So if you're wondering where part two of that was, it'll be next week. And then part three will be the week after that. So we just wanted to break it up a little bit because, we wanted to, see Miss Berlin, Mr. Boettcher. Miss Berlin wasn't here the week we recorded that. So we wanted to make sure that we got to do some FaceTime with Miss Berlin. So
yeah,
how you been, Miss Berlin?
Fantastic. I was sleeping on a World War II submarine the last time we recorded.
You know what?
Oh yeah.
Stick with that story. That's a great story.
They don't have great reception, let me tell you.
It's a big giant metal tube that's full of people. It's full of people.
Yes. So yeah, it was a Cub Scout thing.
Oh,
right.
See, I thought it was some kind of weird bed and breakfast thing that you and your
it was uncomfortable and cold, but not claustrophobic. So that's what I was worried about. I thought originally when we scheduled, I'll be able to podcast because I'm definitely going to end up in a hotel. There's no way I'm sleeping on the submarine. But surprisingly roomy.
Okay. Were you on like a cot or was it a hammock or something?
A cot, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was the 1/2-inch foam from the 1940s. I don't know that they've ever been replaced. Definitely 3 high, sleeping next to a decommissioned missile.
Wow. Well, the good thing about it is if it was World War II, you didn't have to worry about nuclear missiles,
No. It was all diesel. So
yeah,
diesel engine.
Okay.
So very interesting. Had a whole museum around it. I learned a whole lot about subs.
See, I thought it was some kind of weird bed and breakfast, and I was like, wow, your man friend could have, splurged a little more and gotten something that was a little bit nicer.
Had some Wi-Fi at least.
Yeah, maybe Wi-Fi. Yeah. I had made the mention that me and my wife, we got married on a Friday, April 1st, 2005, of course, and honeymooned in Long Beach in the Queen Mary, and that was a World War II ship that's docked in Long Beach, and it was definitely made for another time. I mean, it was a luxury liner, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely made for another time. We had
luxury now isn't like luxury back then.
No, definitely not. Yeah. It's almost like if you go to one of those ancient palaces in Europe and you find out everybody was 5 foot tall. You're like, how in the hell did they sleep on that? And you realize that you just
everyone was super short. Right.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I'm 5 something, but I mean, I'd be fine.
Yeah. Mr. Boettcher, have you been down to Galveston? I think there's a sub or something down there as well, right? Warship?
I think it's an aircraft carrier, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
I think it's an aircraft carrier from WW2.
Okay. Right.
When I was a kid, we went out to eat once a month, but it was to the DQ. That was luxury eating back then.
Right. Went to Ponderosa.
Nice steakhouse. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. So for those of you who are listening and you're like, where's that jet engine? If you can hear that, that's my laptop. I've been putting it through its paces this week. In the last 2 weeks, I have had to change video editing software to VideoPad, which actually is good. The website, NCH's website, looks kind of janky, but the software, VideoPad, is actually really good and much faster than Open Web Shot, which is what I was using before. It would actually take about an hour to render an hour worth of video. Libsyn has changed their UI, so my workflows have completely been blown to hell. And I've been working with a person by the name of Whimmery, and they've been creating some content for us on our YouTube. So I've been doing a lot of video editing. I've also been looking at virtual avatars for a Twitch stream that I'm researching on how to do. So my poor computer, well, poor, it's like 3 months old, but has been put it through its paces and has been beat up a little bit. So it's kind of interesting. I will never buy a second graphics card in a laptop ever again, because it doesn't need a reason to start sounding like a jet engine. The NVIDIA chip that is in the laptop, and I'm not exactly sure.
My MacBook sounds like a jet engine anytime I open up Chrome.
Oh, right. Yeah, it'll do that. Yeah. Yeah. TweetDeck, you leave it on too long and it does that too. So yeah. All right.
Isn't Chrome bigger than Windows 98 now?
Probably, especially with all the tabs I have open, I'm sure.
Memory and
it was like 5 years ago or something. I thought somebody had posted an article on how to run Windows 95 inside a browser tab in JavaScript or something like that. So you could run an entire OS inside of a browser tab. I'll have to find that link.
Not surprised.
Yeah. I mean, it used to run on floppy disks. So yeah. I mean, to be able to boot it up on a floppy or, something like that. So,
well, several floppies, right?
Right. Several floppies. Yeah. Yeah. You did. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boettcher. You had a fancy, 20 gig hard drive, not like, not like us poor folk who had to, use 5.5s or something.
13 gig. I remember.
Easy.
Yeah, that was legit.
Impressive.
Wow. Yeah, very nice. Anyway, so to break up the interviews, we are going to do a little news this week. For those of you living under rock, there's a little thing going on over in Russia, and we don't do a lot of geopolitical stuff, but this one was kind of interesting. Mr. Boettcher, I heard this one actually a little bit on Risky Business, but there's been a few updates on this. The Belarus railways have been hacked, and according to the Wired article, this marks the first time for ransomware. Mr. Boettcher, why is a hack on a railway a first for ransomware?
A first what? Let me refresh my memory here.
I think it was the first time they saw it politically motivated.
The first time a non-state actor deployed ransomware purely for political objectives.
Okay.
So this has to do what they call hacktivism, right? So a hacktivist will hack for political reasons, right?
Right.
And they're not demanding money. In this case, they demand non-transport of certain troops, release of political prisoners, or so-called political prisoners. Now, I was looking through several articles about this particular hack, and Wired was the one that said in the article that the political prisoners were released, but Reuters and The Guardian and several others never mentioned that. So I'm not sure that that's true because it's only coming from one source. But yeah, I just, we haven't talked about hacktivism that much on this show over the years. Would Julian Assange be considered a hacktivist? Because he, I guess, purports to be anti-government or, I don't know, freedom-related hacking or anti-government hacking. I guess a person could be considered a hacktivist for any number of reasons, as long as they don't, I guess, hack for money or any of that sort of thing.
Or not only money, I guess.
Right. It's point of view, right? One person's hacktivist is another person's, insurgent or terrorist or, bad actor.
Or freedom fighter or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it is political, and that's by definition what a hacktivist is.
Right. And you said ransomware. In this case, they encrypted, and they have screenshots. According to this, they have screenshots of the back-end systems. They claim to have encrypted the network with malware, which they could provide the decryption keys if Belarus government met a list of demands. And like you said, 50 political prisoners detained in the midst of country's protests, as well as a commitment from Belarusian railways to not transport Russian troops and potentially material, to Ukraine. So, they're. I don't want to say the Ukrainians did it, but they're obviously doing it for the Ukrainians' best interests in this case. I
also kind of wonder. So, like, was it their? I guess it's because it says corporate and government IT systems, right? Is what they disrupted. Right. So, say you're Amtrak,
right?
Yeah.
And South Korea goes after Amtrak, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna take down your ability to sell tickets." They'd be like, "Oh well, we need you to, okay, U.S. government, can you release these political prisoners?" They're gonna be like.
Well, see there's a huge difference there. One, people in Belarus actually use their train system.
Fair.
The US does not.
Fair. Okay. All
right. I have seen the Amtrak trains run. I have not yet seen anybody actually get off of them here.
I went from here to Chicago and back on an Amtrak.
Well, that's like 2 inches on the map. It's like,
I mean, it's the entire length of Belarus, I think.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah.
Like 6 hours.
All right. And obviously people do ride them because we did have, I believe, a train accident that happened about 6-7 years ago here that did in fact kill people. But they do use them. It's just, they're not fast. The only trains I've ever taken are in Europe, and
they're not fast and not cheap.
No. But yeah, I took the TGV when we visited Geneva 6 years ago, I think 6-7 years ago. And the TGV from Gare du Nord in Paris all the way to Geneva took like 90 minutes. And then we took another train from was it? Yeah, it was one of the other train stations in Paris down to Bordeaux. And it was great. It was very nice. It wasn't first class, but not plenty of legroom. But yeah, I mean, anyway, to get back to our story, they said that the hackers did not attack control systems or anything that might damage or cause derailments or automation systems. I think the bigger thing is, what exactly did they do? When I was listening to Risky Business, they said it sounded like all they did was make it impossible for people to buy tickets. And at that point, it's like, okay, so at this point now they have to use money and a paper ticket or, something like that. So it was a minor inconvenience to some who were unable to use their Euro cards or their Euro Pass or their rail passes or what have you to be able to get into those things.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to be a hacktivist because if you hack the wrong thing or you ransom the wrong thing, you're going to have a lot of people angry, right? Because it inconveniences a portion of the population.
Yeah,
right.
The Reuters article says the group has previously claimed responsibility for paralyzing government websites, hacking the Interior Ministry and internal government databases, and revealing the names and personal details of members of the security forces. Mm-hmm. So I assume that they have been doing a lot more hacking in the past, and this is just the latest one.
Yep. Yeah. And, the other thing is about hacktivism, there's a fine line, isn't there? If the Ukrainians are trying to do something to make it more difficult for Russia to bring in their material, their personnel, and to make more efficient war using the logistical elements of railway, do you want to piss off your next door neighbor who they might be traveling through, once they get everything back up, and make it that much easier for them to want to help Russia? Because it's like, oh, well, Ukrainian hackers or hacktivists were, poking on our stuff. Do you want to breed that kind of ill will? So it seems like with any hacktivist or hacktivism, there's a, there's a line there for some things. And like you said, Mr. Boettcher, this is new ground for some hacktivists, So yeah, there's a and it is kind of interesting. So yeah, I was trying to find while we were talking here if somebody had said they actually let those folks go, but yeah, the drive, I think Radio Free Europe, it also mentioned the 50 detainees. So but I mean we could go ahead.
Oh, I was to say they weren't even formed that long ago. They are, it says September 2020.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we could potentially see more of this in the future if we've got people in the US that, we have, pipelines that are being, built and what have you for, across Canada. Canada was unhappy with the shutting down of pipelines, but if it went in the other direction, those pipelines were being built, or a nuclear power plant was being built, they might try to find ways to shut it down without causing the reactor to overload. There's there's a number of different ways this could go in terms of hacktivism. So the thing is, I think they have to. It only takes one mistake. Like if they decide to attack that nuclear reactor, or they decide to attack those things, and they cause something bad to happen, or an oil drilling platform in the Gulf, and it causes some kind of issue with the control systems they weren't aware of. I don't know how many people have owner's manuals for drilling wells or something like that. So it could actually cause more harm than good environmentally, or with the people around them. So. But let's hope they can continue poking at logistics areas, and if they get caught, that they go to a nice gulag with windows or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let me see. Is there anything else on that one? These are genuine grassroots hacktivists. The group has rampaged through the Belarusian state, but yeah. Well, at least if they did release those people, then they didn't delete the stuff. It just sounds like they actually did non-destructive ransomware. So that's something that's better than what you would normally get in a ransomware. Sometimes they pay it and then they delete it. So sometimes you just like the assholes. So all right. Miss Berlin, you had a story you said you wanted to talk about VMware Horizon. Hit with cobalt strike, according to the Reddit article that I'm seeing here. MSP, r/MSP. Wow, hit with cobalt strike, huh?
Yeah. If you have,
wait a minute. Remind me again. That's a tool for good, right?
It is. It's an expensive tool.
Yeah, good. And those of you,
but if you're going to ransom a bunch of VMware servers, I guess you can pay for your cobalt strike license.
Right. Well, this may be some of the stuff that got leaked a couple of years ago. So once it's been leaked, it's no longer good in this case. So UK National Health Service were actively targeting Log4 shell vulnerabilities in VMware Horizon servers. Now, Horizon servers, those are the ones that are like remote access to your VMs, and they're exposed to the internet.
Well, you shouldn't have them directly exposed to the internet, though.
Oh, well, okay. So, but there were some that were improperly configured.
A lot of them are improperly, and just there was a handful of IP addresses just spraying the entire internet because they found they were listening on that same port.
Is it a specific port?
It was like a command, it was calling back to like this 185 IP address, and just doing like this. It was like a .NET download string. Like I see that in PowerShell a lot.
Yeah, it's IEX new object. It's going to HTTP system.net.web client download string, and then a 185 address on a port 8080. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's still Log4j related, right?
Right.
But they have a patch for them, but you should still not have that Horizon server directly exposed to the internet.
Yeah. So I just learned about this Reddit MSP. So obviously, Miss Berlin, you work at an MSP. So is this a good Reddit for like threat intel or something like that potentially?
Well,
I'm sorry, you're not an MSP anymore.
No, we're not technically MSPs, but we do have a lot of MSPs that are our clients.
Okay.
So we're doing the whole like not for resale thing for MSPs now.
Right.
But yeah, we've seen it hit a couple times.
So is it normal for a server that is running, is it normal for a server that should be running those commands? Because it seems like that would be something you would say, if I see something running IEX command or running PowerShell or what have you, maybe I should flag that.
Yes. A lot of people don't log that though.
Okay. So the ignorant PM in me asks, why not?
They don't know to a lot of times, right? Like off, the first thing most people send you for logs is what, like firewalls, IPS.
Okay.
Sparse Windows logs.
Right.
Those are the top three. Sometimes like endpoint EDR stuff.
Okay.
But this kind of stuff, like it's real bad. Like you should not have just random download command and control like callbacks to random IP addresses from one of your infrastructure servers.
I wonder how many people didn't realize VMware uses Tomcat, which uses Java, which uses Log4j.
Right.
I mean, that's that thing we talked about with Alyssa and them. It's like Log4j is like 4 or 5 dependency levels deep. So how would you even know unless you're like, oh yeah, it does this, which runs Java, which probably has Log4j in it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons like why this is on like the MSP channel is because a lot of MSPs, like their customers have no idea, right? That's why you hire an MSP. You're like, here, handle my VMware for me. They have, an MSP do that. They have another MSP handle their firewall logs, or maybe they do just their firewall configuration, and maybe they do the firewall themselves because they can't. They just don't know how to do the server side. They're like, they just don't handle the traffic right.
Another thing that would catch this would be like a static code analysis tool, right? So you would run that scan on your code and it would, with an update for Log4j, it would pick that up right away and tell you exactly where it was. So then you would update that and then deploy.
Right. So I'm reading the mitigation steps at the bottom. It says, should you discover a web shell, VMware recommends that you, quote, take down the system and engage an incident response team to fully assess the compromise. Okay. So Horizon is a way for people to gain access to VMs remotely. Taking down the VMware Horizon server would not make it possible for you to work remotely anymore. What if companies are using this as their VPN of choice or their way of remotely managing these things?
Is that something we should be concerned about? Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to have a backup.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like it says, alternatively, Huntress recommends you restore from a backup prior to December 25th to remove the web shell. Or hopefully you didn't have web shells prior to December 25th when it was introduced.
Oh, that web shell, that's completely different. Don't worry about that. That's a different.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, that one's completely all right. Yeah, don't worry about that one. Yeah. Now that's the Russian folks. We know about them. They're cool.
Yeah. Right.
That's our MSP. Which is also the prior to December 25th. That's a long ass time ago. That's a month. I mean, how much information or data are you going to lose by restoring?
Or you could put in complete egress filtering. That way they couldn't call back.
No one does that.
There's a lot of we don't do that, like egress filtering and backups.
Or you could also implement zero trust.
You make me sad.
Sorry.
Sad. There's a lot wrong there. It's like, do we actually have backups that go back a month? Do we do ingress filtering, or can we do egress filtering? All of a sudden now we're putting our Horizon behind a firewall, which probably has Log4j on it as well. So
nothing on the internet would save a lot of us a lot of trouble.
Yeah. You know, I did mention that I had reached out to the devs of Log4j to go, hey, you know, you want to come on and vent or, you know, do something, but they haven't replied back. So
I'm not surprised.
I would love it because I think it would
That'd be super cool.
It would be great insight into what they have to deal with on a regular basis. So
yeah.
But yeah, so all right, yeah. If you have VM Horizon, you've probably been owned, especially if it's hooked up directly to the internet.
Definitely.
Well, this is the National Health Service, so that's not a big deal. It's just, you know, the UK's healthcare system. You know, that's not a big deal, I guess. But actually, they did good on January 5th. Well, January 5th. It's now what, the 30th is when we're recording this. So.
I mean,
yeah.
So 16 days ago, according to Shodan, there was around 25,000 Horizon servers currently internet accessible.
Jesus Christ! Why do people do that? Why? What?
Convenience, availability.
Yes. Because they don't know any better. They didn't think this was
save hours.
Yeah, that's why I'm not quite understood, you know, just plugging it in and turning it on and letting it go. You know, this is the whole opt-in, opt-out thing for me. It's like you should lock it down and then, you know, oh, if you want to, you know, extend it to the internet, or, you know, VMware, you know, who are selling to small company, you know, small organization like the National Health Service of the UK should be going like, you know, part of the contract should be, you know, we're going to have a team of people come in and set this shit up for you properly so that you're not, you know, just installing it directly to the internet. You know, how much time and effort has been lost by them, you know, having this issue occur when they could have paid a consultant from VMware or, you know, a technical account manager to manage, you know, the configuration of this system. And just seems like they don't think about that stuff. But
well, it's really cool, and so far so good, right? I mean, it's been working for quite a while. We haven't had any problems.
That is a fair statement.
That's probably the mindset there.
Sure.
Right?
I guess every day you don't get hacked is one less day you have to actually do something to secure your network.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Oh, goody. Well, so yeah, great. You know, I wonder, let me go see what this one is about here. Okay. So do we have any more to talk about with the Horizon stuff? Because the next story we have kind of builds upon, you know, VM Horizon. So Leaping Computer, over 20,000 data center management systems were exposed to hackers. So researchers have found over 20,000 instances of publicly exposed data center infrastructure management software, monitors devices, HVAC, and power distribution units, which could be used for a range of catastrophic attacks. Good. More stuff that's exposed to the internet for some unknown reason. So let me see what they say. Investigators at Cybele have found over 20,000 instances of DCIM. Yeah. The analysts were able to extract passwords from dashboards, which they then used to access actual database instances and stored on the data center. Looks like a bunch of Microsoft SQL boxes got popped. Wow.
Just because of all of their like ILL stuff.
Yeah. This one, Sunbird DC track. Okay.
I mean, I remember working with like the HP ILO stuff and it being
a
pain to configure. Like trying to reset a password on that was a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked in a lab that had a lot of ILO stuff in it as well. ALOM, whatever, automated lights out management.
Right.
They were great. Nice little card you put inside of a server, runs on a management switch. You can SSH to it to power on and off boxes. And then you found out, oh, you can SSH to that card and then, you know, map network drives to, you know, be able to do fun things. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Of course, you know, we were in a lab. It wasn't operationally significant, and we definitely were not connected to the internet at large. I think we were behind about 15 different firewalls before we could even get to that point. So,
right.
And the article says in most cases, not some cases, but in most, the applications use default passwords.
Not surprised.
Well, not 100% then. Bully. Yay. We're not 100% compliant for default passwords. Yeah. I'm hoping that a lot of companies that get hit by this stuff think about, what the future looks like for their contracts, and either, suggest people come in to help them, do this correctly. I've had to eat a little bit of humble pie recently, because I used to be the person on internet Twitter dogging the Ciscos of the world when they ship something with default creds or whatever. It's hard for security people inside of big companies. It really is fucking hard. And there's a lot of security people like, don't do that, and then it's like, why did you do that? Or something like that. And, there's a lot of stuff that they have to deal with. So I am definitely eating some humble pie, because I'm having to go through some of those things where we come up with, why did you decide to do that? Why are, you're supposed to do an automated and a manual code review. Well, what's your manual code review? Oh, I run it through Fortify. Oh, great. Okay. That's not a manual code review. Oh, well, I don't have time to do a full manual code review. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Fun times, because the automated
process
code
is
review,
a huge struggle.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Software release process is hard.
It doesn't matter what size of company you are.
Right. And to be fair, I'm glad that they're doing some kind of review at all. I'm sure there's companies out there go like, yeah, we just kind of check mark that. We just
right. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
We'll get to that later. That's other OPP. That's other people's problems. So we'll work through that. So, but yeah, it just kills me that, I'm sure these companies, these 20,000 ILO interfaces being exposed, some poor security bastards out there dealing with trying to secure those things, because now their management's like, oh shit, we've just been blown up on the internet, and having to, spend their weekend, locking down all these ILO things and writing up reports on, how we could have done it better or should have done it better. And, the security person saying, I told you to do it like this, and you didn't want to do it like that, because you need to be able to do it when you're on your Barco lounger watching, Man United play Liverpool or, whatever. So yeah, there's
no one ever listens after the fact, right?
Right.
It's probably like, well, you should have done a better job trying to convince me that this was a problem, so it's your fault.
Yeah. That's one of those interesting conundrums that people have. Yep. Anything else before we go talking about that one? I mean, seems like a lot of our discussion this week was things exposed to the internet got
just
popped.
Stop it. Stop putting things on the internet.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's so easy though, and I get it, but it's, I mean, just having a layer of something to like we had Mick Douglas on. Yeah, the egress traffic, Mr. Boettcher. If we just, looked at what we were, sending out, that might
WAF would be great. Like put a WAF in front of things.
Yeah, except anything. When WAFs run log4j.
Literally anything. So, well, right. Oh my God.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what he said. It's like a poor man's RDP. Or it's indistinguishable between log4j hack and an RDP.
Yep.
Yeah. That the Horizon thing runs on port 8080. They could have pushed that over a 443 connection using a Let's Encrypt thing, and nobody would have known anything. It would look like legitimate 443 traffic. Unless you knew what IP address that was coming from, you would be, messed up. And, this won't be the last time we see the management system stuff. I mean, SolarWinds was all over the place. There was actually a story, I think, about SolarWinds that came up just recently too. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think we're at the bottom of the hour. Ms. Berlin, Mr. Boettcher, thank you for coming and getting on with me here. Is there anything we're doing coming up in the future that we should highlight in the next 3-4 weeks? Ms. Berlin, I hear tell you're working on your new book. It's coming along.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And you're still doing it with the original publisher, with the porcupine.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Just second edition. So.
And your co-author is diligently helping you work on that.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep, it's going great.
Very cool. When are we expecting that to come out?
Fall, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fall of 2022.
Two whole new chapters.
Okay.
I'm rewriting several others.
Okay.
One and two, the 1 and 2 rewrites done, but there wasn't a whole lot to change there. That was like creating a security program and asset management. So not a whole lot's changed.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering. If you reread your first edition, you're like, oh wow, you sweet.
Oh, there's
child.
There's a few.
Okay.
There's a few.
All right.
Yeah. Like the Windows chapter, I feel a little bad just because the Windows like as much as I like that's the one thing I'm certified in. Like I feel like probably could have done a little bit better. But we're gonna have a cloud chapter and a database chapter added.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a shame you can't see the video of this. Mr. Boettcher is doing some product placement here, reading the actual book. He's just flipping through the table of contents, just
there's a whole lot.
I can't remember if you had automation in here.
Automation. We have certain things about automation in there. I have
you might want to have a whole chapter on that. Actually,
that's a good idea.
You're giving her.
I take requests, like whatever you think. Like if you walk into a place that has zero security posture / process, whatever,
right?
Like what would you want to know?
Yeah, I guess asset management, software and hardware management, asset management. Yeah, especially after the Log4j
just
stuff,
the basics,
or SolarWinds or whatever. Yeah, just
like the basics of how to implement it. Right.
Okay.
Asset management is
huge.
Like
very huge. Okay.
Should be after creating a security program, probably chapter 2. Yeah, and it is.
It is
actually. It is chapter 2. Okay. Touche.
Yeah. Because that's what I always say, like when people ask, like anytime I've interviewed, right? They're like, what's the thing like people can do to increase their security? Asset management, man. Like no one does it right.
And egress filtering.
Yeah, and egress filtering.
Yeah.
There's like, how many times have any of us talked to anyone, any like customer or anyone, and you're like, all right, what devices are on your all right, zero trust, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like non-zero trust, what devices are on your environment?
Right.
Do you know without a doubt what assets you have with an IP address on your environment?
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's hard to
5% of people say yes.
Stuff. Especially have those clouds, you
even
don't know.
Yeah.
Even if you qualify it with, okay, you don't know how many devices you have on your network. Well, how many devices do you have on the internet?
Right.
Some can't even answer that.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And how many times do you have a sales department that'll take their own corporate card and set up an EC2 instance in Amazon and not tell anybody? And then it's like, oh, now they want you to manage it because, it's too big and weighty and it costs $15,000 and the CFO found out about it.
Yep.
I don't want to tell you how I know that story. It comes it's a little close to home. So
all the time.
But anyway, we're over our 30 minutes. No, it's fine. It's cool. I'm just glad we were bringing it up. Ms. Berlin, how would people find you if they wanted to add things to help you with your book?
So at InfoSystir on Twitter, INFOSYSTIR, and then at Hackers Health for the mental health hackers. And we'll actually be at several things. We're going to go to B-Sides Huntsville in Alabama.
Oh. Very cool. When's that?
March 4th and 5th.
Okay.
We will be at B-Sides Charm, which is in Baltimore, April 29th to May 1st. And that's it for ColonelCon.
Okay.
In Omaha, Nebraska, April 1st and 2nd. I won't be there myself. And then B-Sides Nashville, which is March-ish sometime. I don't know.
Good Lord.
Yep, whole bunch of them.
You busy?
I'm only going to half of them because I have other things during the other, other ones.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, your tabletop stuff, InfoSec Roleplay.
Yep.
As well. So cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right, Mr. Boettcher, how about you? tell us about LogDMD real quick and how people can find you and ask you things about it.
Yeah, it's my project, the log malicious discovery tool. So it helps you get the right Windows logs going in your environment, tests for them, things like that, and kind of walks you through how to implement great Windows logging. And cool. That's at log-md.com.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, maybe you can use it on your VM Horizon thing to help find malicious PowerShell things running, or just having PowerShell running all together is something you would want to log and let know happen. So there you go. Cool. All right. You can find me on Twitter at Bryan Brake, BRYAN BRAKE. The podcast is at BrakeSec, BRAKESEC. We have some things on our YouTube channel. One of our slackers by the name of Whimmery is creating and going through the Burp Suite Academy lessons. She did a couple with us at the end, talking about blind SQL injections. I've actually been doing the video editing for that. She does it on a Twitch, which I will put in our show notes, but you can also catch them like a day later. She just got her affiliate status, so we actually have to delay those being posted on our YouTube for at least 24 hours. But if you are a fan of the Twitches and enjoy her streams, you can go and follow along with her. She watches the video and then actually does the exercise. So you can go check her out at Whimmery, I think, on Twitter as well. And we've got some new content that's going up on our YouTube channel. So if you're looking for blind SQL injection or user enumeration stuff, she's running through those lessons, and she's got some people with her that actually walk through the lessons with her. And that's pretty cool. So she's doing a lot of great work there for us, and we do appreciate her time and effort. So there you go. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters for their support. It's our tip jar that we use for hosting, Zoom, paying for Zoom, domain registration, and just helps us feel that like we're doing something good here, and that we're doing a good turn for folks. So if the podcast will always be free. If you can't give to the Patreon, a positive review on your favorite platform of choice that you get your podcast from wouldn't go amiss, and actually give us more visibility on those various platforms. Apple, Spotify, depending on how you feel about Spotify. Anyway, we have Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, and I think we just got put on. Yeah, I think we just got put on Amazon and Audible. So if you or the Samsung podcast platform as well. I don't know why they have one, but they do. So please feel free to leave a positive comment on those places if you have 5 minutes. So. All right. Well, I think that was it for breaking down security this week. Next week will be part 2. And then the week after will be part 3 with Alyssa Miller and April Wright on talking about IoT privacy and security and the anti-stalking initiatives of those platforms and out there. So, keep an eye out for that. Have a great week. Kind to one another. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands, you nasties. Get your shots if you can. For distemper, rabies, whatever, and Omicron, of course. And take care of yourselves, because you are the only you that you have. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.